For the last two games tonight will be Indiana Frosker in black. How are you doing today, Indiana?
I'm pretty excited. I haven't seen you in a while, Fish.
It's been a long time, pretty long time since we've been on the desk for the LPL together. But without further ado, we're going to go into the next matchup tonight, which is going to be RNG taking on Vici Gaming. These two teams, you know, back into the LPL. Vici hasn't played a game yet. RNG, they played one. We're able to pick a win against Team W. But before we dive into it, let's talk a little bit about that last match. IMA picking up their second win here in the LPL so far, coming from the LSPL. They're looking strong.
He's like, let's talk about RNG and go the strict. No, never mind. IMA and LGD. I think Spawn really said it best previously on the desk, is this idea of understanding context about where IME fit into everything. It's really cool for teams like GT and IM to come into the LPL to pick up their first two wins and the first week, obviously, like Spawn said, beating the opponent that's ahead of you. But you know, comparatively to teams like Team WE, RNG, or EDG, we still don't know. Are they good? Can they be great? And can they challenge the elite? And
you know, LGD looking a little bit similar to what they looked like in Spring Split here, dropping their first game against IMA. Not what we expected coming out from the team one more time coming into Summer Split here.
I think that excuse only works for so long. Not what we expected from LGD. I think at this point, that's pretty much what everyone is expecting from LGD, which is just unfortunate looking at their pound-for-pound star-studded roster.
Well, let's dive straight into the next match that we have coming up here, which is going to be RNG taking on Vici Gaming. And the first thing that stands out here is the battle of the Azirs in the mid lane. We have xiaohu taking on Easyhoon in the mid lane in this matchup. This is what a lot of people have been waiting for this week.
We called it the Korean Azir versus the Chinese Azir when we were preparing for this matchup. Obviously, this patch is perfect for the likes of Easyhoon. Control mages are back in form. He was a big Ryze player, big Azir player that everyone knows from his days previous on SKT. Meanwhile, across from him, xiaohu really showed up at MSI with his LeBlanc play and his Azir play. It pretty much means that it should be an insta-ban or a very heavily contested pick. But that's to say it's been heavily contested since Azir's kind of debut, so kind of another day in the office here.
Certainly has. And let's take a look at those lineups really quickly as we take a look at RNG to start us off. They've got Lupa, Mlxg, xiaohu, Uzi, and Mata in their lineup, with Uzi joining the team after their MSI run. So, new addition to the AD carry roster.
And it was frankly just a pure upgrade. Yeah, you were rotating between Lucian and Name, but no one can really compete to the majesty that Uzi has shown in that AD carry position. And alongside Mata, they came out huge in their first game against Team WE and really proved and solidified themselves that they are still the team to beat in the LPL.
They certainly did. They dropped that first match in the best of 3 series, but finished it out 2-1, incredibly strong in the final two, and looking to try and pick up a win here against Vici today. They still have a very star-studded roster, pretty impressive performance in MSI as well. They're looking to continue their dominance in week 1 of the LPL here.
And that's the terrifying thing if you look across at Vici, which I'm sure we'll get a glance at that roster in a second, is kind of where the power is weighted. If you look at Vici's roster, the first half of it looks great. You've got Loong, you have Dante, you have Easyhoon. You look across at the likes of Looper, Mlxg, and xiaohu, you're like, okay, I think we can go toe-to-toe with these guys. But then you get to the bottom lane, and that's when everything starts to fall apart. Not only the fact that you're facing across from Uzi and Mata, probably the most oppressive bot lane that the LPL has ever assembled, but then the fact that you have brand new players slotted into Vici's bot lane in Dwan and Swain.
And you know what? It still feels a little bit like Vici here, because even when they're playing with Endless and Caveman, it was still the tale about how the team had to keep their bottom lane alive. We're going to have to see if they can do that with their new bottom lane duo.
Oh.
Actually, no, it's not. What is this?
Hail Mary play. I love it,
Hail
though.
Mary play. They're back. Endless and Caveman.
Okay, so we saw the off-roster movements of Dwan and Shuan being picked up by Vici Gaming, which they played before with the organization. I actually like the fact that they're sticking with Endless and Caveman. Vici have been very vocal as an organization, saying that they see a lot of potential in Endless, that he does well in scrims, but it's trying to make that translate on the LPL stage. And Caveman, I've actually become a fan of. I don't think he's a top-tier support, but that said, the LPL supports are just so stacked anyway. But he does his job, he does it well, and I don't think he's the necessary weak point for them.
So nothing has changed for this Vici lineup here. They're going to be sending Loong up into the top lane, Dandy in the jungle to try and face off against Mlxg. Easyhoon be back in that mid lane, and Endless and Caveman with a bottom lane AD carry duo.
So now we do have the reset about where these rosters are lining up. You still have to give it to Uzi and Mata. Incredibly oppressive, and frankly, Endless has not been very good on anything that isn't Kalista. Kalista hasn't seen a ton of play in 6.10. Curious if Vici are still going to prioritize that champion, because it's this idea of an effective champion pool for Endless. He's been very hit or miss and very underwhelming when you look across the LPL AD carry pool.
You know what? I really want to see if Vici can continue their sort of playstyle coming into this match, because you did mention, the top half of the map, it looks very even between the two teams. Both have very star-like players with the likes of Dandy, Mlxg, xiaohu, Easyhoon all up there. Then you look at the bottom half, it's definitely into Uzimana's favor, but are Vici still going to be able to protect their bottom lane? They did that throughout this time spring split. This looks like the same thing.
You're trying to beg is the question of understanding how Vici plays. So as an introduction back to Vici, for those who are new to the LPL, Vici were this team, we call them Death by 1,000 Cuts. They were a very macro-oriented team, very slow-paced team, and they would beat you around the map, but never in a 5v5. Vici have this identity where they would try to play the early game through things like lane swaps and clever little plays from pathing on Dandy. It would build up this gold lead, but it wasn't able to compensate for their inability to skirmish or to 5v5. And as we go into a 5v5 and fighting meta, unless Vici really made some adjustments in the offseason, this could be very scary for them.
Well, we'll have to dive into Champion Sectors, check if Vici have made those adjustments coming to Game 1 of this Best 3 series against RNG. And so far, Vladimir has been banned out here, as well as Bard and LeBlanc and Ryze being banned out by Vici Gaming here. Interesting. Vlad being taken away from Vici. Seems like they don't want Loong or he's going to pick up that champion, as Maokai is going to be the final ban coming out from RNG, which means a lot of junglers being left open here as well.
And no surprise that it's a lot of mid lane focus. Again, we have xiaohu and Easyhoon, but Dandy and Mlxg, they're going to make anything stick that they get their hands on, so I don't necessarily see the point in banning out junglers from the likes of these two.
And Lucian is going to be the final ban coming out from Vici Gaming. Immediately, RNG are going to lock in Kindred as their first pick.
The Mlxg special obviously showed the true power of that champion on the MSI stage, and what's super exciting is the fact that we get to see Mlxg kind of coming back into the LPL, now recognized as one of the top junglers in the world, and he's facing off against the likes of Dandy. Again, we focus in on this mid lane, the two big Azir players, big control mage players, but so far on 6.10, it's just been the 2v2 of jungle mid duos. I think it's time to look at the other side of that.
And so far, with that Kindred locked in for RNG,
There he
it
is.
does look like we could possibly see the Azir being picked up by Easyhoon here. They're hovering over it. Definitely could be their second, a part of their second pick rotation here. We'll have to see what Vici decides to lock in eventually. But lots of very strong champions in the current meta left open and available for these two teams to pick up. And it is going to be Azir going on over to Easyhoon. So he's going to have the first bout with the Azir in this matchup.
I think that pretty much means that we're going to see the Azir-Viktor matchup, especially with LeBlanc banned. That's kind of the other flex that xiaohu likes to go into, taking across from this. Obviously, very experienced with champion. And no surprise to see Dandy go back to Graves. He was the #1 Graves player for the LPL last split. Would prioritize that champion over the likes of Nidalee and Kindred when offered to him. Obviously, Kindred being taken away, but Nidalee was still available. But kind of curious that he didn't go back towards the Rek'Sai. When we think of Dandy, we think of a very control-oriented jungler, but it makes sense. We kind of consider Graves a bit of a soft counter to Kindred in this idea that when Lamb's Respite goes down, everyone's all low health anyway, and then Graves just holds his burst, walks in, and blows up multiple people.
We'll have to see if Dandy can do just that. It's interesting that Nidalee wasn't picked up here, being one of the S-tier-esque junglers along with Kindred, normally banned out even, as Swain and Alistar are going to be picked up during the next pick rotation for RNG here. So we've seen a little bit of Swain move up back towards that top lane. He's dipped in and out of competitive play a few years back, but now finding his home up in the top lane since his rework.
I was going to say there are a few gaps there in the time that Swain has been played. We did see Newbie pick up Swain into the top lane. Spawn covered it a little bit. Effectively, he's just really obnoxious to play against. I am a little bit scared whenever Swain comes in because I feel like he is really dependent on the other solo lanes just naturally winning.
Well, if you can depend on anyone to naturally win their lane, it's going to be xiaohu, but he is up against Easyhoon, and that's not an easy task at all to pick up a win in that lane matchup. But for now, it's going to be Karma and Ezreal being picked up by Vici Gaming for their bottom lane AD carry and support duo. You don't have to wait to see what RNG decide to round out their team composition with their final two picks. Caitlyn's going to be the first lock-in for their lineup, and they are hovering over the Viktor matchup. Like you mentioned, the Azir going into the Viktor, most likely going to be the matchup for this mid lane.
And again, I wanted to call this composition kind of the long arm comp. Effectively, you have so much zone control in front of you that you pick a very long-range AD carry. There's also the rise of the long-range AD carry simply because you have long-range mages like Azir cropping back up, although Viktor is historically kind of a mid-range mage.
And he's going to get locked in here. So, exactly the matchup we thought it would be, and it's probably going to be thrown back and forth between these two mid laners throughout this best of 3 series as Viktor being played by xiaohu, who will take on Azir from Easyhoon. But look at this, Kha'Zix is going to be locked in for Vici. We'll have to see if that's played by Loong or Dandy in this matchup, because Graves, we've seen him up in the top lane, but we haven't seen very much Kha'Zix at all recently.
Looper seems to find it pretty humorous right there. Some cheeky smiles being passed around. Like, is this guy for real? No. Okay, cool. Kha'Zix versus Swain. LPL never disappoints.
Nope, so that's what he does. They've got a couple more seconds to try and swap that one out, but it is going to be Kha'Zix moving up towards the top lane. It's been a while since we've seen the bug into a solo lane. I think it's only his release where we saw him throughout the mid lane so much, and he moved into the jungle a little bit, but a surprising return to the LPL.
We'll keep tabs on Loong, see if he does anything kind of curious or funny. Otherwise, taking a step back, looking at these compositions, you do have a ton of kill threat in pretty much every single one of these lanes. Yeah, sorry, just backing up, looking at kind of what Dandy's options are and where he's going to go on this map.
We'll have to see what he decides to do as we go into game one very shortly, but some interesting picks and bans coming out here in game one already. It's been a little bit of a surprise, so to speak.
I don't know anymore. I just kind of sit down and, let them teach me.
Oh, we'll have to see if they can teach us anything going into game one here as the coaches shake hands. We're heading into the first match very shortly.
All of us. We come and we go. All of us.
We are loading onto Summoner's Rift. Uzi's definitely ready for this match, and we have to see if the rest of his team is.
All of us are ready.
We're all ready. We all come and go. As RNG will be taking on Vici in the second best of three of the night. It's going to be the first match between these two teams. The first match actually for Vici here in the summer split of the LPL as well.
And again, just to re-emphasize this, people or fans new to Vici, they did make a pretty impressive late playoff run last split. Unfortunately, missing their opportunity to represent on a international stage both times. Vici have made a point to say that they're a team about development, and it may not be their time right now, but one day it will. That's why they continue to look towards the development of their bot lane like Endless and Caveman, and we've already seen tons of improvement from them. It's now just a matter of how far can they go, and can they run up against this brick wall of Uzi and Mata?
Well, we're taking a look at the Keystone Masters really quickly. Nothing too surprising coming out from these two lineups. I think the only one that would stand out is the Grass and the Dying being picked up by Kha'Zix. Had to wonder what he was going to pick up coming into this.
The Mata special of taking the extra damage on the Alistar as opposed to the Windspeaker's Blessing or Bond of Stone.
Thunderlords and the fan vote here. Wow, 89% of people think RNG are going to be able to pick up this win against Vici. Not too surprised.
I'm not going to blame them for that. Had a fantastic MSI performance, 8-2 groups, only dropping 2 games to the teams that would end up in the finals, CLG and SKT.
We're going to see standard lanes coming out from these two teams as well. So, 80 Carries and Sports down in the bottom lane. We will see the Kha'Zix Swain match up in the top lane. And the Control Mages battle out in the mid lane as well. xiaohu taking on Easyhoon. This is definitely a lane we have to keep coming back and watch over time throughout not only this game, but the rest of this series.
The Viktor versus Azir, I think everyone's kind of tired of it at this point. I'm more curious about the Kha'Zix versus Swain. No surprise that both of these teams would try to match up 1v1 to allow them to get whatever type of advantage or face-off that they see here, but still scary because Uzi has this natural tendency to just passively and organically win his lane, and teams just can snowball from there, especially on the likes of his signature Caitlyn pick.
Both junglers did start on the top side of the map as well, so Kindred picked up her blue buff first. Graves was at his red buff and picked that one up. You can already see Uzi and Mata, they decided not to go for the camp at level 1, forced both Endless and Caveman to come back to lane very quickly as Mlxg looking to try and get a very early gank here onto Loong up in the top lane. Has spotted him out here, going to jump on forward, get a little bit of damage now. Loong has to flash forward, but he's slowed incredibly soft. He's going to get flashed on and by the Kindred, picks up first blood. Looper will pick that one up for his team.
And frankly, doesn't have enough tools on his kit to deal with the obnoxious soft CC that Swain can really put out there, especially in tandem with Kindred having both those slows available to them. What that means, though, is obviously big advantage to Looper, especially where its creep wave is. Immediately, Loong burns the teleport there, but approaching that wave is still going to be incredibly terrifying, especially without his flash available.
He's only able to pick up boots as well as corrupting potion to get back into lane here, so no extra combat stats as he goes back into the lane. Looper still has his teleport, can decide to either help out his team or get a little bit more of a lane advantage when he goes back to base later, as Dandy is going to be picking up the Raptor camp here. He's spotted out by a ward placed down over the wall. But for now, both junglers just going back to farming it out. You can see on the map already, Easyhoon, he's been able to push the Viktor in towards his tower, so xiaohu going to have to farm under there for a while as Looper already trying to shove out this wave as fast as he possibly can. Mlxg was actually returning up towards that top lane, trying to see if he can get a return gank onto Loong.
Also making sure, I mean, obviously you have two different thought paths here. You have the idea that if Loong overextends again, it's going to be an easy kill knowing that he doesn't have his flash available to him. Or if Dandy chooses to show up to try to even out the lane, you're there for the counter gank. We
saw a Vladimir band coming out from RNG here, so Loong has a few surprising champions up his sleeve, it seems. Vladimir picked up the Kha'Zix in this game, so we'll have to see throughout the rest of this series. He's going to pick up anything else coming to this match. So we head back down towards that bottom lane. Uzi and Mata still being a little bit aggressive, pushing out the waves wherever they can, but Endless and Caveman for now have been able to keep up in terms of CS. Not doing too bad themselves in this bottom lane.
And Loong formerly came from unlimited potential and was probably one of the better pickups for Vici. Again, if you look at the top side of their map, it looks very strong. I think he fits in a very similar vein as the likes of V from Newbie. He's just kind of this role player, so when you see something like a Vladimir ban and a Kha'Zix pickup, it's actually a little bit out of his comfort zone that you would expect of the MO of this player.
Head back down into the bottom lane one more time here as Graves actually looking to try and see if we can get a gank off into this lane. Dandy looking to try and get down here as Endless. He's going to take a lot of damage to start things off. Uzi flashes aggressively forward. Endless is going to arcade shift out of there. Gets the shield from the Karma. Uzi's going to be the first to go down. The shotgun's going to be too much for the sniper. As Mata, he's trying to run away. Mlxg is coming in here. Picks up a return kill. Now working his way on towards Caveman and Dandy. They're trying to take him 2-on-1. Mlxg's just too strong though. As he jumps forward, he's going to pick up another one onto Caveman as he goes to the brush. A double kill for the Kindred, and they tie it up 2 for 2.
Exactly. It's a 2 for 2 trade, but it's about where the power is weighted right there. Mata and Uzi choosing to pull the trigger and trying to trade 1 for 1 initially. Good flash from Endless to make sure that Uzi isn't the benefactor there, but 2-0-1 Kindred, not where you want to be looking across from Mlxg.
Definitely not. He's looking for even more here. He's trying to get the wraparound against Easyhoon. Going to jump forward. Just slides out of there. Gets the Shreema shuffle on. But we saw what a well-farmed Kindred could do yesterday when we saw Swift pick it up quite a bit for Newbie. And looks like Mlxg trying to do the exact same thing for his team here. Has 2 very early kills already. We
always know that Kindred's going to be a massive threat late game, especially over your objective control like Barons, like Dragons, which have a higher priority on the 6.10 patch. Although, hold on. No, he's fine. He's cheating to his strong side of the map. Kindred takes a long time to ramp, though. Not a long time, but she can. Obviously, there's huge snowball and RNG potential on how you get your stacks if these ganks go well for you. So just really beating the clock right now on a champion that is already so powerful.
Well, we take a look back down in towards this bottom lane. You can see Uzi already trying to freeze out the wave wherever possible. He's picked up a pretty nice CS lead for himself. He's about 15 CS
Every
ahead of
lane
Endless.
is winning right now.
Every lane is winning for RNG, in fact. So we take a look back up towards the top lane. Looper still being very aggressive against Loong here, trying to zone him away from as much farm as possible. In fact, the tower's denying quite a bit of CS as well. Dandy really has his work cut out for him in this match. He tried to get a very early gank off down into the bottom lane, which was just matched by Mlxg, and it seems like Mlxg is the one that's been the aggressor now.
No, and this is the problem again when you look across at Vici's comp. Yeah, you can say, okay, just wait it out for Ezreal and Azir power spike as we see Mata going aggressive in the bottom side. But Caitlyn and Viktor are going to be able to match that just as well. Again, Swain's going to really start to be a problem and matter if he doesn't have to worry about being that big 5v5. Not that he can't play in a 5v5, but it's more so, you know, if Swain just gets complete control of the top lane, he's just commanding all of these resources to come deal with him. He's so hard to take down.
Loong was actually forced to use his teleport one more time to get back in towards that top lane. Meanwhile, blue buff being donated over towards both the mid laners, so xiaohu and Easyhoon will pick those up uncontested. Both teams just opting to No, allow the junglers to donate that one over towards the mid laners. He's going to have a little bit of trouble. Poke it one more time, picks up the blue.
The weight of the world on Easyhoon right now. Big CS discrepancy, though. He does have a wave pushing into him, so he'll be able to shore up a little bit, but still, xiaohu has the lead.
He's about a full minion wave and a bit more behind xiaohu at the moment, so getting the better end of this matchup so far to Viktor.
And they're really starting to bully this pressure out around the dragon. The fact that Uzi and Mata in tandem with Mlxg have control of the bottom side. You start to see Mata moving in, placing down Vision. Are they going to contest for the pink ward, or are they going to let him have it?
Dandy's trying to take it. Actually, going to go over towards Mata, I believe. Was it Mata that picked that one up?
Yes. Got it with the headbutt.
Good job. Able to steal that away from Dandy. No prioritization over the Rift Herald or the Dragon just yet as well. 9 minutes into the game. It's the Infernal Dragon that spawned first as well as Loong. Going a little bit aggressive against Lupa. He just turns into a giant bird-throwing machine. He's able to heal up whatever damage Loong was able to dish out on towards him and still being very aggressive in this lane, not allowing Loong to farm without any damage taken in return.
Long's very fortunate that that root didn't connect. The fact that he used his leap to get into range to try to trade with Looper, if that root had connected. I was very curious what the trades would look like between Kha'Zix and Swain.
You can see Endless and Caveman trying to cheek a back in there on top of a ward. Kindred was nearby looking to try and get a wrap around onto those two, but not quite able to do so. There's Dandy now waiting in this mid lane, trying to see if xiaohu will overreach at all. Well, we are going to see Mlxg in the meantime try and take down this dragon, the Infernal Dragon, all by himself. No vision coming out from Vici so far.
Mata zoning off Caveman and Endless, but Easyhoon has managed to slip out of his lane. We will have a 2v1 to start, 2v3.
Flash in from Mata, going to get the double knock up here. Easyhoon, the first one to go down, and Mlxg picks up another kill for his team.
And the mentality for RNG is that we're already organically and passively winning. He's taking the dragon, just hold your lanes. You see Mata with very aggressive positioning, locking Caveman and Endless into the lane. Easyhoon and Dandy tried to force it, but RNG just had the superior rotation. And xiaohu, with all of that vision, was able to follow up on Easyhoon nicely.
And on top of that, Mlxg was able to pick up the Infernal Drake. Before that, the next dragon to spawn will be the Mountain Dragon. So two of the more heavily prioritized dragons are spawning early on in the game here for RNG and Vici. As we take a look back up towards that top lane, Lupa still being an absolute nuisance against Loong. He's about 15 CS up ahead of the bug. And Loong is not having a good time in this lane at all.
No one is having a good time. It's, again, holding on and waiting for your Ezreal and your Azir before you can start picking everyone up.
And speaking of the Ezreal, he's 20 CS behind Uzi at the moment.
No surprise.
A very big disadvantage for Endless at the moment. And Uzi and Mata have been very aggressive in this lane, making sure they can deny as much CS as possible from Endless. Despite the gank from Dandy that came on very early in the game, Mlxg was able to turn that one completely around.
And Mlxg hasn't even sacrificed any of his jungle farm to Dandy, so they're still sitting relatively even, slight leads, depending on who's taking their back when, but obviously that big difference is going to be the 2 kills slated in Mlxg's pocket.
Approaching about 12 minutes into the game as well. So far, RNG, they have a pretty comfortable 2,000 goal lead ahead of Vici at the moment. 4-2, a single dragon to none, and no turrets taken down just yet. We have a look at the items really quickly. Ezreal already picked up that tier, has the Sheen as well. Still need to complete the Iceborne Gauntlet first, it seems, coming in from this champion, whereas Caitlyn and Uzi already picked up the BF sword, so a little bit more damage coming back into the lane for now for the Caitlyn. Lupa and Loong just going to trade up in this top lane quickly here. The root not going to be able to connect on towards the bug, but Lupa just takes no damage when his ultimate is on.
Oh, hold on. Mata for the roam.
Ultimate's going to come out from Uzi here, and he's going to try and lock out xiaohu, but it's going to be easier if they get locked down here. xiaohu, though, taking a lot of damage. Dandy is all up inside of his face. That's 1-1, though, for both these teams so far. As the fight's going to break out, and Mlxg is going to try and join onto this fight. Mata doesn't have the headbutt pulverized just yet. The root's not going to be able to connect onto Dandy, but the bug still trying to run away. Does get the slowdown on towards the Kindred. They just trade mid laner for mid laner.
But again, it's looking about where these kills are being allocated. The gold is being spread across RNG's team composition. It's going to be Looper that picks it up, now 2-0 on this swing, whereas Dandy still has all of the kills other than his support. So,
and still, 2,000 gold in the lead for RNG as Loong's Dude just crawling up towards this top lane. He knows what he has to go up against, but Dandy, he's been caught up on Mlxg here. Another jump forward would be enough. He flashes on top of him. Mlxg picks up a solo kill against Dandy.
What a world we live in where the likes of Mlxg, this very young, aggressive Chinese jungler, is really testing his mettle against the likes of Dandy, a world champion. Now, naturally, Dandy is he's dealing with some different assets on his teams than the likes of Samsung White, but credit to Mlxg, he's really come into his own, and RNG have unlocked his true potential.
He played really well at MSI and continue to do so here in their match against Vici as Endless. Going to take a whole world of damage coming out from Uzi and Mata, just a one headbutt pulverized combo.
And so, this game, RNG are just winning everything organically as Easyhoon's actually caught behind enemy lines. That's a rock and a hard place. Will he get out?
She looked like he wanted to jump over the wall there. Instead tags the blue buff. He's still going for this one. He wants the blue buff for himself. Now, despite Dandy and Easyhoon being close by, he's going to dash it forward. He's able to smite that one away. Now looking to try and see if he can take down Dandy. We do see xiaohu get behind him, picks up the first kill. Mlxg will get that one now. Easyhoon, he's been locked down. Sand Soldiers will come out to try and divide Mlxg, who puts down the lamps to spy. Keeping himself alive a little bit longer. Caveman gonna flash aggressively forward, but still gets taken down. Easyhoon picks up that final few ticks of auto attacks to pick up the kill.
And it's just this continued idea, the point that we were on before, is that RNG are just organically winning everything. And it allows so much space and room for Mlxg to take full control of the jungle. And it's now a question of, you know, chicken before the egg. Did Mlxg win in the jungle, which allowed the lanes to win? And I think it was just everything happening at once.
It really feels like that. You know, Lupa already strong up in the top lane. Mlxg, you already mentioned, controlling the jungle, picking up solo kills. Great ganks from him. Uzi and Mata really strong in this bottom lane, and xiaohu just is naturally ahead of Easyhoon throughout this laning phase. So RNG looking really strong here.
And it feels very slow paced and very controlled for how quickly we would normally see games ramp. You think back to RNG, it's constantly deep invading, skirmishing over these wards, and now they're just kind of sitting in an elongated lane phase, but that's totally fine. The adjustment to bringing Uzi to the roster, just give him a lane phase, let him farm up. Caitlyn does have a mid-game power trough, but no one's going to out-CS Uzi ever, 144 to 117.
Especially when you have Mata as your support. He's always going to be right behind Uzi, making sure you can back him up whenever he needs him to be. And Loong, this is just not fun.
He can't win any trade.
He can't do any damage in this Swain. Just takes half his health.
He can't farm underneath his own tower without that bird just blasting him.
Takes half his health in terms of damage from the Swain bird. Meanwhile, Mlxg and Loop are going to try and see if they can take down the Rift Herald about 16 minutes into the game.
Who will they give the buff to?
Wow, I thought that would definitely have gone over towards Looper. Instead, they're going to give it to Mlxg.
I've seen them do this a few times, prioritizing giving it to the jungler. I don't necessarily think Looper really needs it right now. Obviously, it would help having a bit extra magic damage in these trades, as well as damage reduction.
Well, he's already incredibly healthy on that Swain. Don't see him losing any more of his health anytime soon. But the second dragon of the game has respawned. It's going to be the Mountain Dragon this time. RNG with their 5,000 or close, even more than 5,000 gold lead, 6,000 gold lead at the moment, could definitely try and take this one away from Vici or force them to fight over this pit.
Vici have no control over anything. RNG are in complete control. They get to dictate everything that happens on the map. Both teleports are available.
Very few items completed across the board for Vici as well. You can see in the mid lane, Stinger for Easyhoon. He has the Negatron Cloak and just bits and pieces here and there. Bottom lane, Endless finally picked up his Iceborne Gauntlet, but still sitting on the tier. Top lane, Spectre's Cowl, Barmy, Cinder, you know, not much here, just bits and pieces of items all around the map.
A level 11 smite compared to a level 9. We'll see if Dandy can maybe pull off a miracle here, although Mata is on top.
Going to be difficult, but Mlxg, he's waiting, just taking up the dragon whenever he possibly can. Going to see if he can get the smite off. Will be able to take that one away from Dandy. They try to contest for it, but easy objective for Mlxg.
And again, it's just this idea of we're already passively winning, so why change anything? It's a level 11 smite to level 9. He's not going to get it. Just make sure that there's no fight, because we don't want to skew this one way or the other if no one's in perfect position. Continue to free farm your lanes and get the gold.
And the next dragon that will spawn in 23 minutes will be another Mountain Dragon, so another big dragon for RNG to pick up if they choose to continue increasing the damage they deal to towers and epic monsters. But for now, Looper, he's going to return up towards this top lane. He's 40 CS ahead of Loong, and just not looking good for Vici at the moment.
And this is just the exact, I keep saying, but it's the exact plan that RNG want to play. The only tower that's gone down so far is that mid-tier tower, but otherwise they're holding all of their waves. They know that they're getting free gold. They know that they're going to outscale.
And they're slowly doing just that. Every single lane is up by at least 20 CS. Mlxg controls the entirety of Dandy's jungle. He's 5-0-2, 30 CS ahead of that Graves as well. They just look strong. They're just taking it very slow and steady, not trying to overstep at any point in time. But Mlxg now, he's being caught out by the ultimate coming in from Easyhoon. Actually going to get locked down. Leverage the spike, going to try and keep himself alive for a little bit longer. Flashes out, but will get picked up by Dandy. So another kill on the board for Vici, and more importantly, they get the shutdown.
Yeah, and finally a mistake from RNG. Classic Mlxg, that's what we actually really expect from him, that he used to do all the time when he hadn't really come into his MSI form, is overextend and not have support behind him for these really deep invades. He's strong on pretty much either side of the map, but he needs to communicate that.
Certainly does, and right there looked like he wanted to try and take the red buff away from Dandy.
Just needs to make sure his solo laners or his bot lane would collapse with him.
Pays for it with his life as you see Mata flashes aggressively forward on top of Endless. He's going to have to be able to shift out of that, flashes and heals away as well, but RNG should be able to pick up the turret for this as Caveman now. He's going to get jumped on by Looper, flanking really deeply into the backlines. The laser will pick it up for xiaohu as they take down Caveman. RNG get another objective for themselves.
And suddenly RNG flip the switch. They're tired of free farming. Immediately 2 towers fall in the last 2 minutes, and they move this pressure and this ward line aggressively into Vici's blue side jungle.
Mlxg has respawned. He's run down the mid lane, trying to pick up some of this free CS that has crashed on towards his turret. So far, RNG, they've been able to break those 2 turrets, open up the map a little bit here, approaching 20 minutes into the game. Loong finally getting some chip damage down towards this top turret up in the top lane. But not going to be too long before Swain gets back up there and shoos the bug away, which we've seen throughout the entirety of this game.
Yeah, the question is, where will RNG strike next? With the mid-tier tower down, again, they can start to creep up their mid line. They do have a window of opportunity where they can play to the top side of the map, as we see immediate pings going down into the Baron. With the mountain, don't do it.
He wants to. RNG wants this. That's where,
with the mountain
that's where his
Drake
passive is.
And Kindred, they do have good objective control, but I still think it's a little bit too early for a 20-minute Baron, although they are pulling Swain, so trying to take it up with Swain. This is where this composition reveals itself.
They've already got it down to half of its health here. Incredibly low, this Baron. This should be going on to over towards RNG. So far, Vici, they've got no wards to spot this one out, and it will be Mlxg that picks up this buff here, smites it away. 20-minute, 30-second Baron going over towards RNG.
And as I said, they reveal the Swain Kindred composition. Now, naturally, this was dependent on a few factors. They were lucky that they did get the Mountain Drake, although that wasn't the primary benefactor of there. They're also lucky that they had complete control over the entire map because they organically won all of their lanes and made sure that Vici didn't have any vision to contest that, because you're still effectively challenging a 20-minute Baron against the likes of Ezreal and Azir and Graves.
Vici now just looks really dire for them at the moment. They're about 8,000 gold behind RNG, approaching 9 to 10,000 gold very shortly here. And with the Baron, it's going to be really difficult for Vici to stop any sieges that RNG tries to dish out here, especially when they have the likes of Uzi on a Caitlyn, one of the longest ranged AD carries in the game. It's going to be difficult for Vici to try and hold on to this. And the Kha'Zix pick up in the top lane just hasn't shown anything so far in this game.
Yeah, and haven't been able to do anything 1v1 against its lane, and we still haven't really seen a full 5v5, so see if Loong has any backline threat, and if he's going to apply any pressure to Uzi. But at this point, I kind of think it's too little too late. Vici have fallen far too down the rabbit hole.
Kha'Zix picked up a Spirit Precision and a Barmy Cinder, so going for a full tanky build onto this bug. See a lot of Kha'Zix pick up damage normally. Was more of an assassin champion when you last saw him competitive play, but meanwhile, xiaohu just destroyed Endless. Endless destroys him in return, though. What?
It was an assist by Easyhoon as well, so it was a 2v1 on the bottom side of the map, Viktor versus Ezreal and Azir. It does mean that he draws enough pressure that RNG pick up another free tower. Don't necessarily think he needed to die right there, but RNG trying to apply pressure across the entire map at once. Dragon spawning in 34 seconds.
They've been able to successfully do that. They're 9,000 gold ahead of Vici at the moment. Like you mentioned, Dragon spawning very shortly. It's the second Mountain Dragon of the game. Would not be surprised if RNG rush over towards the pit, try and force a fight or pick up that objective there. Loong, he's going to be up in the top lane, has his teleport available, but low on mana. If he wants to get back to base to try and fight for this, he has to go now. But let's take a look at this one. xiaohu, 2-on-1 against Easyhoon and Caveman. Or Endless, sorry, and
He
able to pick up a
pops
kill.
him right on top of his Ezreal.
Oh, that doesn't feel good.
I was thinking mid-Emperor's Divide as he's flying through. He's just going to drop all of his spells, and Ezreal's going to be deleted. As second Mountain Drake is now picked up for RNG, that means 20% bonus damage to epic monsters as well as turrets. They are now in full siege mode, as are Caitlyn, sitting on double Zeal items, upgraded one into Hurricane as well as the Infinity Edge. So
The next dragon to spawn as well is going to be another Mountain Dragon. So if we get that far into the game, Uzi's just going to shred through all of these turrets.
he's already been shredding through all of them. Check out the crits that he's getting on that creep wave alone.
But for now, RNG once again taking it a little bit slow and steady. Loong, he's been caught a little bit out of position here. xiaohu trying to go one-on-one against the Kha'Zix, pops down the Storm. Looking to try and slow him down a little bit. The rest of the team trying to collapse on towards this bug. Here comes Mata, looking to try and get the combo off to lock him down a little bit longer. Headbutts him towards the wall. Doesn't get the pulverize, so Danny is now here actually to stop them from pushing any further. But meanwhile, Lupa, he's just having some fun down on his bottom lane, trying to push towards the inhibitor turret.
It's a 10k gold discrepancy at 24 minutes between these two teams, and Vici are effectively just chasing after RNG, chasing their bug. And like you said, meanwhile, they lose a tower. They do finally collapse on Looper.
This is going to be difficult, though. One of the few people it's hard
They
to
just
collapse on
gave
is a
up.
Swain. He just pops down the bird,
This isn't
snares a
worth
couple
it.
of people. It's, yeah, don't want to chase him anymore. He just heals too much.
And now RNG back on the assault and should pick up this mid tower. No.
They get it down really low. Endless actually going to jump aggressively forward against Mlxg. Pops it down incredibly low. Might have an arcane shift soon. Decides not to pursue his chase.
Mata and Looper are on the flank right there. A lot of pings went down, but they decide to not pull the trigger on a counter engage.
On this mid lane inner turret's the last turret outside of Vici's base that's still standing. Minion waves are collapsing on towards all the turrets inside of the base as well. As Vici's still trying to fight from behind. They're about 12,000 gold behind RNG at the moment. It's going to be difficult for them to claw back.
And the item discrepancies are massive alone. As we, again, take a look at the CS discrepancies and how that's translated. Uzi versus Endless. I mean, Ezreal finally just came online with his two big core items, but he's sitting massively behind this Caitlyn. She pretty much rolled or steamrolled straight through her mid-game power trough into a late game, so beating the clock by quite a bit.
Yep, 70% crit chance, you know, getting a headshot every other auto attack as well.
And there's
Not
no
gonna be good.
armor to stop her. There's only MR up and available. You've got the makings of not Frozen Heart. It's got Balmy Cinder.
On top of that, Mlxg here has a black cleaver as well, so going to shred even more armor, or whatever there is remaining of armor from Vici's lineup. Doesn't look too good for the side so far in their first match of the summer split of the LPL.
And we talked about how Vici really rely on their ability to play a macro strategy to compensate for their inability to 5v5. Taking standard lanes against the likes of RNG and pulling out a pick like Kha'Zix and slotting it into the 1v1, you know, picking it into the Swain. Just a lot of question marks and kind of some red flags there for Vici. Obviously didn't pan out exactly how they wanted.
Meanwhile, though, RNG looking to try and take down the final inner turret of the game. Or on Vici's side of the map anyway. They will be able to take that one down with ease. Baron will be respawning in 1 minute and 5 seconds. The two mountain buffs that RNG picked up, it's going to be easy for them to take down their next Baron if they choose to go for that objective. They picked up 4,000 gold from their Baron power play as well.
And they're about to pick up a second one in 53 seconds. Frankly, I mean, Vici are just holding on for dear life. You'd have to have a catastrophic throw from RNG.
Well, we've seen weirder things.
Have we?
Yep, I've seen a Master Yi absolutely obliterate people in the LPL.
He made it past 35 minutes.
But for now, still a mountain to climb for Vici at the moment. As RNG, they're in the driver's seat, just taking things very slowly and steadily. Still just waiting for their carries to
It's just
pick
they're
up more
playing
items.
clean League of Legends. They're not necessarily waiting for big item power spikes. They're just waiting on that Baron and Dragon timers. As Uzi's now moving over into the Baron pit, making sure that they're keeping their waves pushed. So just good creep management right now from RNG, understanding what objective they need, playing clean or clinical League of Legends. You've just had that kind of one overstep from Mlxg around the red buff initially, but since then, it's just been very, very calm.
In 10 seconds, or not even 10 seconds, the Baron has already spawned here. It's Mlxg Trying to hunt out for remaining
Mata's
members of
got him.
Vici. Mata is going to be able to get the flank around Caveman. Looks like he wanted to try to flash over that wall, but it's going to get obliterated by the sniper. RG pick up a nice pick there. Chaos Storm gets popped down by xiaohu in the back lines, but isn't able to pick anyone off. But so far, it's 4-on-5. Baron's up and available. RG looking like they want to try and make a play. Uzi gets a nice shot off over towards the Easyhoon. Mata comes in, looking to try and get the pick off. Easyhoon taking a lot of damage here. Swain flashes forward. Mlxg goes over the top of the wall as well. Not quite able to find any more picks, but RNG scare off the remaining members of Vici.
RNG have complete control over that side of the jungle just with these pockets of true vision, the pink control, and they are just continuously setting a trap as Swain and Kindred continue to 2v1 the Baron.
Easyhoon, no, Uzi. Wow, it's just going to take down Loong there. Tries to face check that brush. Meanwhile, like you mentioned, Baron is going to get taken down by Kindred and Swain. They 2-on-1 that Baron buff. Uzi now looking for more blood as Endless and Danny trying to run away. Looper is going to start to work on this bottom lane inhibitor turret. Uzi, no, not going to be sized. He flashes over the wall here. Danny is going to take a lot of damage from that sniper. Unlucky not getting any crits there coming out from Uzi, but still forcing him to back away.
But immediately the pressure applied to these waves. You do have a cannon creep available on the top side, although they are going to merge down and take this mid inhibitor. And RNG are just suffocating Vici, but it started at pretty much minute 7.
Certainly has, and now second inhibitor turret of the game going to fall down for RNG. They've taken on the top lane inhibitor turret, going to work on the inhibitor shortly. In fact, playing this one a little bit cautious, it seems, backing off outside the base, waiting to regroup. All 5 members of VG are back up and online, so could definitely try and put up a fight here, but they're so far behind at the moment. Just looks too little too late for Vici.
It's been too little too late for,
for a long time.
For a while, Fish. We do have 3 Mountain Drakes going down as RNG will make their way down there, so they will have the 30% extra bonus damage.
Yep.
I feel like at this point, Vici are kind of collect yourself. What do we do for game 2? Again, it's a best of 3. We're now sitting at a close to 20k gold difference. RNG's carries are effectively 4 to 5 items. So very far ahead of the clock.
Certainly are. You can see Bloodthirst already been picked up by Uzi here to complement his double zeal item and the Infinity Edge. xiaohu's already picked up his Void Staff with the Rylai's.
Because he doesn't have to worry about armor penetration. Loong has the only armor on the team, other than the Iceborne Gauntlet stats that Endless will get, and it's in a Sunfire.
Black Cleaver coming out from LSG helps Uzi out quite a bit too. Be able to shred out whatever remaining armor that the rest of Vici has. Looper as well, Void Staff, Rod of Ages, Zhonya's Hourglass, and the Spirit Visage picked up for the Swain. He's an absolute monster. I don't think he's going to die at all in this game.
Just 4 completed items plus boots versus the 2 items and the ingredients for an Iceborne Gauntlet.
Pretty crazy.
That's frankly disgusting.
Take a look at Mlxg as well. He's 5-1 and 355 CS. He's got 5 items already. The upgraded boots, Phantom Dancer, the upgraded jungle item. He's got Bloodthirst and Black Cleaver as well. This Kindred is going to pack a punch in these fights.
It goes back to, I mean, RNG right now, still the team to beat in the LPL. Unfortunately, EDG are sitting across from them in the group, so we won't see them play until cross-group conference in the middle of the season. We did see a fantastic series against Team WE, where WE managed to take a game off of RNG. But if they continue to just decimate teams like this, I mean, Vici, again, made a fairly impressive run in the playoffs last split. So it's not like they're a bottom-barrel team. And with Endless and Caveman on their roster, they didn't make any roster adjustments over the course of the offseason, so they should be able to pick it up back from where they left it. But RNG are just head and shoulders beyond any other team.
And they're looking to try and clean up this game here against Vici. They've taken out all the inhibitor turrets and inhibitors away from the Vici lineup, working on towards the Nexus turrets now. As Vici desperately trying to make their last stand. They're expending so much money to try and clear all 3 creep waves that are crashing on towards their base. But it's just going to be too little too late for the Vici lineup. Mata, he's going to go in aggressively. They jump onto Endless and Easyhoon. He pops his ultimate, trying to separate them. Not going to be enough. As Loong now, he gets knocked back in towards the team. They're trying to sit on top of the fountain and try and fight RNG, but even that's not going to help them out. As Uzi gets free auto attacks down onto Loong, takes him down. Dandy desperately trying to defend against Looper, but he just heals too much as Swain here. They're trying to take him down. He pops the Zhonya's, going to stay alive even longer. It's Mlxg helps him out with the laser spy. RNG fighting Vici from the fountain, but that's not going to be enough as the Nexus is going to fall down and RNG pick up game 1 against Vici.
All smiles on their face right there. As you see Uzi on your screen, it was dominant, oppressive, clinical. Probably only 2 real errors from RNG right there when xiaohu was caught out on the bottom side, 2v1 against Easyhoon and Endless, and Mlxg kind of aggressively baiting without warning his mid laner and his top laner that he was going to contest Dandy for the red buff. But otherwise, this was just another day in the office for them.
Certainly was. And Vici, you know, from Champions Select, they tried to do a few interesting things here. They picked up the Kha'Zix, didn't show anything at all in that game, was just shut down by Mlxg, the Swain. A little bit too much to handle, and then the whole game just fell apart for them.
I mean, they took, what, a 21-minute Baron there with the, again, the composition revealing itself using the Swain to tank the Baron as well as the Kindred Shred and Monster Dragon. Really curious if they would have been able to pull something like that off if the circumstances weren't so snowballed in their favor, you know, having Mountain Drake, having organic control of everything, having the stronger smite. But obviously, you can say very good at recognizing when they can take the risks that they want.
We take a look at the highlights really quickly. You can see here, this was the first proactive play coming out from Vici. They sent Dandy down into the bottom lane, was able to pick up 2 kills for his team, but Mlxg was right behind him, able to turn that one around, trade it 2 for 2, and arguably give Uzi the advantage in that lane as well.
Dandy has this mentality that he likes to prioritize ganking on the bottom lane because, as he says, there's more people there to snowball. I have more chances to pick up gold and kills. And frankly, was just outmaneuvered by Mlxg. Now, naturally, Dandy's solo laners are not going to be as powerful as RNG, but it was Mlxg, right place, right time.
Speaking of those solo laners, this is what we saw right from the get-go. Both the top lane and mid lane for RNG were significantly further ahead from Vici, not only in terms of CS, but also pressure in the lane, the kills they picked up as well, the item advantage. It's just right from the very start, RNG looked really solid in all their solo lanes.
Yeah, I want to kind of touch upon the Kha'Zix pick. Again, it's kind of one of those moments where you step back and you say, okay, obviously you understand something about this pick that I'm missing. Show me what it means to you. Show me how you're going to utilize it. And it was just, frankly, a wash. I don't see how that there's any way that Kha'Zix was going to win any of those trades. Was quite fortunate that a lot of the roots didn't connect on him, but even without the root connecting, just the AoE control and the dot damage that Swain had, he couldn't farm safely. And then that translated into level discrepancies, and it just got worse from there. And the top side of the map collapsed, and from there it just bled everywhere else.
Well, RNG looked clinical in game number 1 here, but we're going to go to a short break and we'll be back with game 2 very shortly.